What is happening, guys? We are back with another Hero's Journey YouTube live stream. And in this special edition, Hero's Journey YouTube live stream, we're going to talk about a show that doesn't need doesn't need much introduction, this show, but I wanted to really kind of dissect this first episode of season 1 Black Mirror. And really, Black Mirror to me is like kind of it solidified filmmaking again. It made filmmaking great again. I know that was cringy, but so let's get right into it because like Black Mirror is awesome, but I feel like it kind of fell off a little bit the last season or two. But Black Mirror is back, baby, as my dad said. So let's get right into it because episode one was pretty freaking amazing. Like, just to start, if you haven't watched it, this is gonna have spoilers. I'm essentially gonna just kind of go through the episode, but really what the main takeaway I got from episode 1 that is super interesting is essentially it is the influencer method, the influencer community, the influencer strategy of existing in a creative space like upped tenfold. Essentially, the Black Mirror episode 1, Common People, is what all of us YouTubers and Instagrammers, etcetera, have become just on a way more extreme level. And I thought it was super interesting how, you know, essentially right now, if I just stopped and I was like, all right, guys, also thanks to the sponsor, Squarespace. With Squarespace, you can, I mean, pretty much it's not that different from that. It's essentially the same thing. It's stopping a real life moment to shoehorn in a sponsor of sorts. But what episode 1 really ramped it up a lot was that they took the universe of influencers and mixed it with this new world of like subscriber based models. And they threw in a little bit of like AI hybrid tech where like this girl is unconscious, comes back to life, but now she's like in subscriber mode to some company. So let's get into it real quick. But if you haven't watched it yet, this is Black Mirror season 7, episode 1, Common People. And it started off the season like freaking amazing. I thought originally like, all right, this is my favorite episode. But later tonight, I'm gonna do a live stream on episode 2, and episode 2 is now my favorite, but this is a close second. So let's get into it. Let's see who's in the chat here. And we have a celebrity. We have Migzy. And Migzy, how's it going? How you doing, brother? And I'm trying to share my screen here. Let's see what happens here. So, share screen, allow, share this window. And I don't think it's working. I think because Netflix is not wanting me to show y'all the heats. They have some kind of firewall thingy on it. So I'm just trying to double check here how I'm gonna do this now. And yeah, they're not liking the share screen. So I do have a backup here. So let's get to the backup mode. But what I thought was really cool with episode 1 was that like they really took what we're all dealing with now with like how we interact, how we live, and they like flipped it on its head. Because what's gnarly is that like we all know what influencers are and sponsorships and all this stuff now, which even 5 years ago, this wasn't really that big. No one really thought, we'd be stopping mid talk on a stream to shout out a sponsor or something. I mean, usually there was ads baked in from YouTube or ads baked in by, we're already plagued by ads. Back in the day, in the TV day, ads would come on for like 3 minutes at a time between shows. So you'd have to watch the ads. Then when the internet came, ads kind of like got more like subdued, more in the background. And now we're in a time where like if you pay the top dollar, like in episode 1, if you pay the top dollar, you don't have to experience ads. But if you're a noob, if you can't afford that, well, it's gonna be ad city. So let's shout out Migs. He's saying namaste amigo. He's great. It's good to see me. YouTube is not the same without me. Well, thank you, sir. Much appreciated. And I apologize, Migs, that today's a little more about the entertainment movie review world, but we can talk a little surfing here and there for sure, because I know that's why you're here, and that's why a lot of people come. So I appreciate the surf community because like that's really the core of what my channel is, but I like to branch out a little bit. And for me, it's like movie reviews and show reviews are always something that I've kind of done and want to keep doing. So for me, I need to kind of keep at it because you kind of forget to do stuff unless you're just super focused on your mini niche. So let me get my little thing riled up here because Netflix did not want me to share my screen. It doesn't want that because the copywriters are coming after me, even though this is fair use. This is fair use, Netflix. And there we go. So yeah, Netflix was actually blocking me. Very naughty, very naughty. So I want to kind of start from the beginning here. So I'm gonna have a little background on my screen too. But essentially, and here's Migsy popping in. So Migsy says he's never seen a single episode of Black Mirror, but he hears it's insanely realistic, too many rabbit holes to fall into, one thing at a time. Yeah, Migs, Black Mirror I think is like the best thing on TV in the last decade. I mean, there's a lot of great stuff, but Black Mirror is it took it over the edge, and since season 7, and now it's back. Now it's back and better than ever. Well, not really better than ever. The first couple seasons are like they've aged like fine wine and they were gold at the time, but the newest season we're back to what made Black Mirror Black Mirror. So to kick it off, what's really going on in the first episode is, we have two main characters. We have this guy who we've seen in lots of other movies, and then that's me making the thumbnail, and then his wife on the right, who here's in the thumbnail as well. They pretty much live like a great life. Nothing is too gnarly in their life. It's definitely a futuristic world. I'm going to show you here that, like as you see in the background right now, one of the main things in this universe are there's like these bees, and these are mechanical bees. These are robot bees that go around pollinate, like using fake pollen to pollinate plants. So this is pretty much at the beginning of the episode. So it shows you right away, like we're in a world that's a little ahead of ours. It's still our world, but it's like a slightly different world. And that's kind of what Black Mirror is. It's our world, but it's in the future or in the past, or just like a slightly different version of our world. So yes, Migsy, if you like sci-fi and mind benders, it's the show to watch. Um, yeah, so they live like a pretty awesome life, these two. Let me try to find like a happy picture of them because I think it's important to show that like the beginning of this show is actually very nice. Like they're stoked. They're a happy couple. They are enjoying their life. But then what happens is her Rashida Jones, I believe her real name is. Um, she kind of just has some disease or something, and she essentially falls unconscious. She teaches at the school, and one day she just in the school, she falls unconscious and has to go to the hospital. Long story short, she has a tumor in her brain, and she's pretty much gonna die. She's in a vegetative state, and it's not looking good for her. But then they get approached by pretty much a girl that um works with this company. You don't know this yet in the show, but I'm just trying to type this in here because Netflix does not want us to see this stuff because you got to go buy their stuff. And up, see there, you hear it. But basically, when she is in the hospital and like they tell the husband, like, it's game over. You you're not gonna be able to have a wife anymore. Um, that's when he's like, well, is there anything you can do? And here's him at the hospital, and shout out, I gotta shout out this guy's channel because I'm looking at the channel right now. The Review Geek. So shout out the Review Geek. I appreciate this fair use. I'm just gonna use screenshots from your thing, brother, because Netflix don't like this right now. So he's at the hospital, and essentially is freaking out because he just had an amazing girl in his life, and now she's in the hospital, about to die and be in a coma forever. So enter this lady who works for this company called Rivermind, I believe it's called. Let me double check. Riverside or Rivermind. And what this company does is pretty much like create a like product that is a Neuralink to all the people that connect to their software, and the software essentially keeps you alive or brings you back to life out of a coma. So she tells him that she is like able to bring this girl, his wife, out of the coma with their technology. And she kind of paints it with a broad brush. You don't really know what's going on. Um, and then they do it. They do the surgery. She's she's alive again, and they get explained from her about kind of what the deal is, and pretty much they tell it's like it's a service, so it's SaaS, and you pay monthly to essentially keep her on. So to keep Rashida Jones on and alive, they need to continuously pay every month this company. I just want to make sure I'm getting the name right. Riverside, is it? Um, Rivermind. Yeah, so it's Rivermind. So it's kind of like a river of minds all connected to these servers that are keeping these people alive. So it's a mind F, like as you can see here. And this is kind of like the company logo. So they've pretty much signed up for this service, and now because she's awakened alive again, they like are kind of caught. It's kind of like having a Netflix subscription and you're addicted to, Squid Games. So you have to watch excuse me. You're so addicted to Squid Games, you have to pay Netflix because you have to watch Squid Games. It's like that to the 10th degree. So they've signed up. They're gonna pay every month. They're already kind of barely making ends meet. Thanks, Migsy. Migsy's like, does it make sense? Who knows? Yeah, it doesn't. It's Black Mirror is a mind f, and you have to watch it, or you're gonna kind of go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. You even go cuckoo, and then every ending is like a Fight Club ending. So Black Mirror is like you take Fight Club, you take Star Trek, push them together. That's what you get. So, they're gonna go home. They're gonna live their normal life. Now, there's some couple funny things where she has to sleep a lot. Um, that's pretty much the only thing they tell her. She sleeps a lot, and then they got to keep paying, or she like falls asleep again forever. Um, and then she goes back to teaching school. Talking about the honeybees and stuff. And then out of nowhere, she essentially starts like giving sponsorship ads, kind of like if I was like, all right, guys, and by the way, this episode of my live stream is sponsored by AirPods. AirPods are the best listening device. So it's pretty much that. So she goes into these mini advertisement modes. But the thing is, it's subconscious and she actually doesn't even know it's happening. So she pretty much blacks out, reads the ad, and then comes back to life. So she reads the ad and then comes back. And you're like, okay, and she doesn't even know what's happened. So she has no clue what's happened. So she's so literally stop what she's doing in real life, read an ad, and usually the ad is like in regard to what's happening. So here, when she's in the classroom talking about the bees, she's talking like, yeah, so these bees, and you can get your honey from Honeywell, the most best honey in the entire universe. So she does that, like, and that starts happening more and more. And she doesn't really know this is happening until like 5 scenes later, when the husband finally like makes her, because she's blowing it with everyone. She's doing these ad reads in front of everyone. It'd be kind of like if your favorite YouTuber just wouldn't stop doing ads. Yeah, Maisie, it's Fight Club, which is the best, one of the best movies ever. So it's pretty much like watching Fight Club for the first time, or Sixth Sense for the first time every single episode. It's slamming, slamming. This is another, her coworker also called her out on her like reading an ad in front of her, and the ads are funny because they're kind of condescending slash like kind of cringy. Like this ad, she stops mid sentence to talk about dating apps for 50-year-olds to this lady, and this lady's like, "I'm only 49." So it's pretty funny how she'll do an ad that has to do with the situation, but she doesn't know what's happening, and it's usually pretty rude. Um, the next step is that they realize what's going on. Like, all right, how do we stop like me reading ads? Like, how do we stop this? Because I don't want to read ads like randomly out of nowhere. Like, she's gonna lose her job. She's doing it in front of kids. It's just getting crazy. So the next thing that happens is definitely very Black Mirror season one, episode one with the pig. You know what I'm talking about? And her husband essentially stumbles on this show from a coworker at his welding construction job, who finds this website where people do degrading things on the internet and get paid in real time with real money. And this, it's like, oh, well, no one wants to do that. So this poor guy, he was one of the people, this guy right here, who the husband originally saw on the website doing gnarly stuff like drinking his stuff that you get out of your body, and maybe taking a toenail clipper thing and clipping your nose or something, like painful slash degrading things. And the website looks completely gnarly. It's like a dark web website almost. And the guy can't believe this is a real thing. Well, the guy realizes real quick that actually it's horrible. He's going to do it. He's going to join this website because they need more money to pay for the subscription service so that his wife isn't reading ads nonstop every day, because it starts to ramp up and she like just can't stop reading ads. So it's messed up. It's like, all right, do you want your wife to be in ad mode all day or not? So he ends up joining the site and unfortunately doing degrading things. So that's pretty much like the whole premise of the episode. It keeps building up more and more, where he's doing more degrading things. There's even sexual things going on with things going in his body, etc. I'm not going to get too much into that, but it really gets they get pretty bummed. Like they end up looking like this, like in the thumbnail. They're broke. They can't afford this anymore. He's sick of doing gnarly acts. She's sleeping more and just doing more ads. Next thing that happens is that they try to go out of like the zone. There's also like coverage zones that if you leave your zone, you actually get like shut off. So at one point they leave the zone and she like goes unconscious again, just, and he thinks she's dead, but they leave the zone. Rivermind is like, well, we actually have this new platinum service. It's like Rivermind Plus or something. If you pay more money for Rivermind Plus, you can travel around and then you won't shut off. So then you're forced to pay even more money so you can travel around. So they're like, all right, well, and it's like $800. They're like, well, we can't really afford that. So he continues to, do more and more things on the website. And, he definitely ends up like this guy doing stuff he never would have thought he would do on this website. And he definitely is confused. And this actor is great. He's been in a bunch of 80s and 90s movies. think he was in no, he wasn't in Garfield, that was someone else. But a lot of Black Mirror episodes get actors like this who are either super OG or unknowns, and they always give like tour de four. Is that a word? They always give amazing performances that you can't even believe. It's as good as movies in the theaters. So he's ramping up his degradation game, and she's somewhat getting better, but not really. Then as the episode continues, it starts to like really ramp up because he actually gets essentially doxxed by one of his coworkers who showed him the original thing. And I just showed an image that hopefully YouTube isn't going to see, but if you rewind, you can see it. But the coworker puts the image at the work site. Everyone sees it. It's one of the images he's using a sexual thingy inside of him, and it's the most embarrassing thing you could ever imagine someone seeing. So essentially, he gets like kind of fired on the spot, and in the midst of that, he actually has a pretty gnarly work accident with this kid, and the kid gets run over by like a truck. Probably loses his legs. Like it's like a serious injury. So this guy gets fired. So he has no more money. So now they can't pay for her to be alive without ads anymore. So they pretty much like can't afford can't afford it anymore, and she starts going into like super ad mode, sleeping all day, waking up, and just reading ads. Like she wakes up and she's like, bed sheets from Latter Day Saints, they're so clean and crispy, and just like staring straight, just reading, just saying ads that the Rivermind thing is just pumping through her body. So let's check in with the chat. So Migs is saying he loves these kind of movies. Well, Migs, you're gonna love this. It is the power of love. True. Coworkers hate others, hassle always. Yeah, this coworker thing is nightmare fuel. The kid's like sitting on the site. He shows him the site a few times. They actually the plot does really well with kind of wrapping it up because the kid kind of gets his just desserts if you've seen Hot Fuzz, but it's really sad though. He like gets run over by a tractor thing, and it's like it's hard to even watch. Not that he deserved it, but like he was the reason this guy gets extremely more screwed. Um, so the episode continues. The company and also this lady actually is a person as well. So went into coma. They did the surgery on her, and now she's like a Rivermind person. She's an employee and she's actual a customer. So it's really interesting because she's super black and white, super by the book, and she's also in their same shoes, but has no compassion, and it's a black and white business. So it's almost like taking insurance or medical stuff, like very black and white things. Like it doesn't matter how much you talk to the doctor's office about how you need a surgery or you need this procedure. If you don't have the money or insurance can't cover it, they can't help you. It's a lot like that. So it's almost a metaphor of that mixed with our now everything's an ad culture, and it combines those two, and it's done really well because you can truly feel for the main characters because they're trapped. They're extremely trapped. So this pretty much brings us to, you know, near the end of the thing, and this is spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. Migsy, if you want to go off for a sec or watch it, but essentially they get in too deep and they can't up there's more upgrades, they can't afford it. She's just speaking ads all day. Um there's this one mode where it's like essentially it's like a mood controller, can make you super happy, super sad, lots of pleasure, lots of pain. And like it's an app, and you use the app and you swipe up and down to manage like this things. So and really it's like taking like the best drug you've ever taken and having control over that drug and feeling it however you want to feel it. and it's amazing. It's like the most euphoric thing ever. And there's a whole scene where she's experiencing all these things that were kind of lame in the past, but they're the best things ever. Like the food's the best ever. This funny band that wasn't good's the best ever. All this stuff that isn't that great, she can't believe how amazing it is. It's like kind of like if you went to another world and experienced all this stuff for the first time. It's pretty breathtaking. So she gets to experience that. And then later on, when the climax is coming up, she's back to ad mode. They can't afford it. They don't know what to do anymore. Pretty much they agree that she's going to have one more night of this whole pleasure experience. And then at the end, unfortunately, because they have no jobs, him doing the degrading acts just can't pay it anymore, just that alone. And he's run out of options. They essentially have one final night of like fun, and she gets to live in pleasure mode. And then she goes out of pleasure mode, and it's a pretty intense scene. So be alert as I say this, but after her last pleasure mode, sh he unfortunately, ends her with the pillow because when she's in the ad mode, she's not there. So she's reading ads and he ends her with the pillow. Then he goes off, and the last shot of the scene is actually an extremely amazing shot. Is him walking into the room where this guy was, or the room where he filmed his acts. He turns around, he shows a knife, and then closes the door, and then the scene's over. AKA, he was probably gonna go end himself on the degrading act website in a live stream. Just I don't know why, because there's no money left, but I think just to kind of out of desperation and to prove some kind of a point that, all right, here you guys are going to get this last scene of me just ending it. And the last shot is like extremely, extremely good. I even try to find it really quick. Let's see. Well, actually, I won't. Well, let's see. I don't think it's going to pop up anywhere. Yeah, whatever. It's all good. So it's a truly heartbreaking scene. Watching this poor guy do that and then walking into the room to go on the internet to delete himself, and then it's fade out, and that's the end, and it's in true Black Mirror fashion. It leaves you breathless, and you're like, oh my Santa. So that's kind of the recap. Now again, I've went through what the and yes, Migsy, hit the chat. So Migsy's saying it sounds gnarly. He's sold. He wants to see it. The rabbit hole sounds like a warm up to what's coming. Yep. Sounds about right. Everyone's trying to get those feelings with their phone. Yep. He said he saw that coming. Don't worry, Travis. The ending was obvious. Oh, interesting. Yeah, when I was watching it, to me, I didn't think it was gonna. Another Black Mirror thing is usually it isn't a happy ending. The villain usually might win or might not win. Um, but this one, it was you thought maybe it was gonna work out, but then obviously it wasn't. And again, it's a giant analogy for our current culture about just ads everywhere, and everyone's selling you something. Even this health company that's keeping someone alive is ultimately having to pay the bills with advertising. And it's I saw the Black Mirror in front of me, and it was super obvious what they were kind of trying to go with here was that like there's no getting around the ads now. Like we live in a world of selling. And if you're not getting sold something, then you are what is getting sold. So this took that concept and it pretty much put them together where she got sold and she was doing the selling. And then in terms of the relationship, it just couldn't stand that it couldn't withhold that. So, all right, guys, Migsy, appreciate you being here. This will be on review. This will be on repeat, so check it out. I'm actually going live right now again, Migs, and we're gonna do episode 2 review, which actually makes this thing look like child's play. So join me as we hop into episode 2, which I can't even pronounce the episode, but it takes this and again it makes it look like it was a episode of like Sesame Street or something. So Meg says if people could get app in their phones to control their feelings, it'd be a huge business. Right, sir. Yeah, and that's essentially what this app does. It has a pleasure mode, it has like a relaxation mode, and you can go from 0 to 100 and you like literally see them moving it up on the app from 0 to 100 and it's an instant because it's in the cloud. The cloud is in your brain and it's really wild how well they did it. So thank you, Migsy. Maybe I'll see you in the next one here, but I'm gonna hop over there. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Smash like, hit subscribe. Go check out my man's channel who I was borrowing screenshots from. Again, his name was what is this thing? Oh no. What was his name? His name was I lost it. I'll put it in the description down below. But thanks, guys. We out of here. Peace.